Welcome back. In this training video, we'll learn how to leverage the capabilities of the column chooser in FOURA. Now, I consider the column chooser a bit of a hidden gem. Anywhere there's a grid, the column chooser provides an opportunity to customize how to view content. But this comes with words of caution. We found when it comes to user customizations, less is more. So let's get started. There are two ways to access the column chooser. The first way is by selecting Format in the header menu and then selecting the column chooser option. The second way is to right-click on the column header on the parent form and select the column chooser option in the context menu. The form consists of 6 columns, of which 2 of the columns are read-only. These 2 columns contain system data, which is uneditable. This is why the font color is blue. The first column from the left is one of 2 system data columns that are visible on this form. The column displays the row number, which is useful for sorting. The next column is the visible checkbox column. The green check here indicates the column is visible in the parent grid form. So if you want to see this data field in the parent form, it needs to have a green check in this field. The next column is a systemic field name. This is the database field name that FOURA uses. The following column is the caption column. The caption column is the name that you'll see displayed in the column header in the parent form. This caption can be modified by the user. Please don't stop viewing this video just yet and start modifying a whole bunch of captions, because modifying the captions come with liabilities, something I will also explain in a moment. Changing the caption is very easy. For instance, let's say I look at the active column and it bothers me that it says ACT and I'd rather have it say active. All you have to do is overtype ACT with the word active and select the apply button. That's it. When we return to the parent form, we'll see that the column now is labeled active. Next is the format field. FOURA has been engineered to be highly effective and to employ best practices with commonality between features. So it's important to realize that changing the formats only change how content appears on your monitor and no one else's. If any of the fields are blank in the columns, they are unformatted and data will appear as typed. If there are number signs, decimals, and brackets, these specify numerical formats for this field. These numerical fields also display a negative format for any negative numbers that might be displayed. Anywhere you see MDY, that indicates it's a date format. Let's just say it's probably not a good idea for users to modify any of these pre-existing formats. The last column is the usage column. The usage column provides insight regarding the purpose for the field. Think of it as a quick reference before you need to go to F1 for help. Some usage statements may provide details on where the control data is, such as the name of the associated possible values list. Your local FOURA administrator can modify these usage statements if necessary to better adapt to your business dialog. The real convenience of the column chooser is that it allows users to rename columns in the parental grid form. Keep in mind that these changes are only temporary unless they're saved. So remember to select the Save Layout button on the parent form. Now, before you go wielding your newfound powers, let me share some of the all too common newbie mistakes with you. There are 3 things that new users seem to do almost immediately after learning about the column chooser. 1. They reshuffle most of the columns around on the parent form. 2. They rename a fair number of the columns to something that only makes sense to them at the moment. And 3. They hide a bunch of columns and make several more columns visible. And then, like clockwork, at least one of the following scenarios occur. Scenario 1 is where the user changed several caption names and now unknowingly ended up with 2 columns that have the same name. Now the user is confused and doesn't know which one is which. And often the resolution here is for the user to look at the systemic field name in the usage column to determine the purpose of the 2 fields and then rename them accordingly. Scenario 2 occurs when the user tries to have a conversation with a coworker and each are looking at the same form on their own monitors and find they can't effectively communicate. Generally, the reason for this is one or both of the users have changed a number of the captions, moved column positions, and they're having difficulty communicating over simple issues. This is another reason why we made the field names and usage columns visible. The system field names are a constant which can help them get back on track. My personal favorite is scenario number 3. Users select a number of columns to make visible and hide others. Soon after, the parent form doesn't make any sense and the user becomes frustrated and blames FOURA for not working properly. This happens all the time. So I'm going to repeat what I said at the beginning of this tutorial. Less is more. Don't customize anything that isn't absolutely necessary. Our recommendation is to learn FOURA as it is, and only move columns on the parent form to create a more logical order, but keep the original captions. If you make changes to show additional columns, move them to a logical column arrangement that helps you keep the data in context. And after you've used FOURA for several days, then go ahead and make simple and obvious changes to the captions. And if you're like me, you'll eventually make a series of adjustments over time. And if you're also like me, you'll eventually ask yourself, why did I do that? But thankfully, there's some relief. On the parent form, in the header menu under File, is an option called Revert Layout. Select this and the column positions, caption names, column widths, and formats go back to the original out-of-box configuration. Now, the Revert Layout only reverts the one parent form, not all forms, but it will get you out of trouble. Also, keep in mind, as great as customizations are, it can create unanticipated complications, and if not done responsibly, it can create process delays and increase support activities. Well, that wraps up this tutorial. Please be sure to check out additional tutorials to learn more about FOURA's powerful features, processes, and tips. Thanks for watching.